Wow! Where did that come from?
Pain.
And that's where my expertise ends, I'm afraid. When it comes to breadth of knowledge, Tainari certainly comes out on top.
A flower expert? Oh, Paimon's got it! You must be the expert Tainari mentioned, the one in charge of the exhibition!
Wrong again, I'm afraid.
Well, I did come for the exhibition, but only to inquire about the Auguste variety. I'm not involved in any official capacity.
Oh, Paimon was sure she got it.
It's a kind of flower that was once popular in Fontaine. The perfume made from it also bears the same name, Auguste.
Auguste, huh? That's not a name you hear often nowadays.
In an ancient language, the word is said to mean sacred or noble. It's sometimes used as a name for people as well. Ah, that reminds me. Are you familiar with a historical event in Fontaine known as Perfume Mania? Perfume Mania was an event that occurred in Fontaine nearly 20 years ago. It all started when several merchants released their own lines of. No one anticipated the absolute frenzy this would create on the market, causing the price of perfumes to skyrocket. The demand was twofold. What some saw as a status symbol, most saw as a money-making opportunity. You could take advantage of the soaring price by hoarding them and reselling at even higher margins. The value of these products became so inflated, regular bottles of perfume were even going for hundreds of thousands of mora. This resulted in countless disputes and scams. But at the end of the day, perfume is just perfume. The market value greatly exceeded the intrinsic worth of the product, creating an economic bubble that was never going to last. Luckily, the Palais Mermonia recognized the danger and intervened before the craze could truly spread. Many profiteers and scammers were thrown in jail as a result. In the end, only a few wealthy families were affected when the bubble popped.
What does all this have to do with that Auguste you mentioned earlier?
Well, during the craze, the most popular perfume was none other than Auguste. The demand far exceeded the supply, to the point where it once sold for 10 million mora a bottle.
10 million? Then what about now?
After the mania ended, most perfumes returned to a normal price. Auguste was the only exception. Its namesake, the flower used to create it, went extinct. As a result, no new bottles of Auguste have been made, and the value of the perfume remains exceedingly high. Indeed, the Auguste flower was not a natural variety, you see. It was specially cultivated for use in perfume making. When the bubble popped, all the flower beds used for its cultivation were destroyed in a fire. The variety has never been seen since.
But didn't you say you came to the exhibition to look for it?
Ah, yes. I came to investigate a certain rumor that the Auguste flower has reappeared in Sumeru. It's causing quite the stir in the Fontaine perfume market.
Traveler, we should help Emily look for it.
I have to agree. Emily wrote me to ask if I could look into the rumor, but the forest rangers haven't received any reports of new plant species recently.
Even if I can locate the flower, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed, Paimon. I don't have any grand mora-making endeavors planned. Divine, noble, one of a kind, all beautiful sentiments to be sure, but to me, they overshadow the very essence of the product. When it comes to perfume, I want people to forget the price and the prestige and focus on the beauty of the fragrance itself.
Wow, so noble.
Of course, there's also a more practical reason. In recent years, low-grade counterfeit versions of Auguste have been popping up on the Fontaine perfume market. Every so often, someone will claim to have recreated the unique scent of Auguste, and the rumor mill will start comparing the counterfeits to my own work.
Okay, that's more like the reason Paimon had in mind.
Ever since that rumor started, 3 new perfumes claiming to be made from the Auguste flower have appeared on the market. If I can dispel the fanaticism surrounding Auguste, even just by proving the rumor to be false, Fontaine's perfume market can finally start to get back to normal. Then I'll be free from all the stories and added meaning and just focus on making what I like.
That makes sense.
Oh, I would of course be grateful for your help, but I wouldn't want to trouble you.
Well, you said it yourself. We're both travelers from abroad, so it's only right that we help each other out.
Ha! I suppose you're right. Then you have my thanks.
Based on the information I have so far, it's unclear if the rumor is true. Mr. Edgar also thinks it's too early to say. But you could always go talk to him. He was there all those years ago, after all. Maybe he'll know something.
Huh, I was just about to pay him a visit at the hotel.
Edgar? Who's that?
The person you've been trying to guess this whole time. The flower expert in charge of the exhibition. He's also the most respected and experienced perfumer in the area. Back when he was still working in Fontaine, Auguste was his creation.
I should also mention, he was my teacher, the one who taught me the basics of perfumery when I apprenticed in Sumeru.
So this guy was a famous perfumer in Fontaine, but then he came to Sumeru to teach people from Fontaine? It sounds confusing.
It's a long story. If you're interested, we can talk more about it when we see him. He should be staying near the hotel.
Oh, look at all the flowers!
Apparently, the exhibitor paid a large sum to rent out the hotel and surrounding buildings. They're being used as temporary storage facilities and lodging for exhibition personnel.
Yeah, what if guests come early? They won't have anywhere to stay. Also, renting out this big of a hotel, how are they going to make that more back?
It's been so long, I almost didn't recognize...
Well, you and your brother haven't changed a bit.
Oh, yeah, all this catching up is nice and all, but let's get down to business. We need to talk about Kyria.
Hold on, we have guests.
It's nice to see you again, Master.
Emily? Is that you? Oh, it's been years. Look at you. You're all grown up. I've heard you've become quite the famous perfumer in Fontaine. It would seem the student has surpassed the master.
Oh, well, it's all thanks to your mentorship.
Ah, hardly. I taught you the basics. Hearing you call me master, well, I'm not sure I'm deserving of that title. I've taught many students here in Sumeru over the years, but I've yet to see one turn out quite as accomplished as you. You're the only one who can take credit for that success. And who are these two? I don't recall you mentioning them in your letter.
Ah, they're my new friends, the Traveler and Paimon.
Emily's friends. Well then, the pleasure is all mine.
And these two gentlemen? Are they friends of yours, Master?
Of course, we're perfume merchants from Fontaine. I'm Oud, and this here is my younger brother, Blaze. Edgar and the two of us are old friends. Isn't that right, gentlemen?
Yes.
Merchant brothers?
You must be here to look for the August flower then.
Huh?
Well, what respectable perfume merchant hasn't heard of Auguste? Anyone in the business would be interested in the rumors.
I'm guessing you're here for the same reason, Emily. We were just about to get into it, so you three might as well join in. I commissioned a few eremites to do some scouting for me. They searched all over Sumeru, but there were no sightings of the Auguste flower. That being said, there are people in Port Ormos who claim to have smelled a unique fragrance on the streets. Definitely floral, but still distinct. Some of them were merchants who lived in Fontaine 20 years ago. According to them, the fragrance smelled exactly like the Auguste they remember from back then. A one-of-a-kind, divine, and noble scent.
Maybe someone around here just happens to have a bottle of Auguste from back...
No, I don't think so. I doubt that's the case. Even if someone had a bottle that was never opened, the fragrance of the perfume would have changed over time. Very few perfumes can go decades without a change in scent. Auguste is even more prone to that kind of shift. Only a few bottles still exist in Fontaine, and their scent would have completely degraded by now. Although, could there be a flower out there with a similar fragrance? Or in accord with the same base notes?
Impossible! If Auguste were that easy to replicate, it would never have sold for such a high price all those years ago. The Auguste flower is back. It has to be.
Technically speaking, The scent wouldn't be impossible to imitate.
Well, let's table that question for now. Edgar, did any of those people mention where the scent was coming?
No. By the time they realized they had smelled something, the scent was already gone. If I hadn't asked about it, they probably wouldn't have given the experience a second thought. Compared to things we see and hear, smells can be much easier to overlook.
It almost sounds like someone wearing the Auguste fragrance passed them on the street.
Wait, are you saying...
Just thinking out loud. Don't pay me any mind.
We don't have much to go off of right now, but we can't rule out that possibility. I'll send some more people to investigate. You all traveled so far to be here. Why don't you rest in the hotel for a bit? Oud, Blaze, this is the key to your room.
Ooh, you've got the keys to the rooms? Do we get free lodging too?
My apologies. All the rooms in the hotel are accounted for, I'm afraid. Most are being used for storage ahead of the exhibition, you see. I managed to tidy up one of the rooms for these two at the last minute, but by the time Emily wrote to me, there was no more space left for her to stay.
Oh, and we just showed up out of the blue. Guess that means there's definitely no space for us.
I should have been more considerate. Here I am with an entire hotel at my disposal and no place to offer you to stay, even after you made the trip all the way to Sumeru.
Don't worry, Master. I can sleep on the boat tonight. Or I could even camp in the wild. It would give me the opportunity to collect some plant specimens while I'm here in Sumeru. Ah, even better. Although, would it be possible for me to leave some of my luggage here? It would be rather cumbersome to take it camping. It shouldn't take up too much space.
Well, about that.
Of course, no trouble at all. My brother and I will keep an eye on them for you, as long as you don't mind, mademoiselle.
All right, then. Oud, why don't you take Emily inside and find a suitable place for her luggage? I'll prepare some refreshments and join you in a bit.
Water comes in many flavors to the discerning palate. Mondstadt's water is crisp and pure, while water from Liyue has an enduring aftertaste. In Inazuma, the water possesses a depth of flavor unlike any other. Sumeru's water, meanwhile, has a rich and complex flavor profile, but it must be savored.
Whoa, the smell of flowers is so strong. Hyman took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
No, that's a florist thing. We work closely with the essential oils of various plants, but to maintain a sharp...
Oh, guess there's just too much to store for the exhibition then.
Oh, this room seems to be a connected suite, and my brother will be staying on the other side of the suite. Blaze, while you're out, why don't you bring our luggage over as well?
Dun, 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 dun.
Blaze!
Yes, of course.
All right, then. Where can we find your luggage, mademoiselle? Blaze will go fetch it for you.
It's still at the port. In addition to some daily necessities, there's also a case of amber wine that I brought back from Fontaine. Could I trouble you to bring that back as well? It would be the perfect way to repay you for your hospitality.
How generous. I should thank you on my brother's behalf. You've stumbled upon his weakness. He's aloof about most things, but alcohol is his one true love.
Is that so? Mr. Ood, Mr. Blaze, thanks for...
Hey! What are you doing?
That's Master's voice.
Edgar!
Master!
Hey, Edgar! Are you all right? Can you hear me?
Who did this?
Kyria. August.
Kyria!
Hey, Edgar? Edgar!
No, don't shake him. He's injured. Just leave him to me. You two can... Oh, thank you.
That strange smell around here. Is it coming from this bottle? Oh, really? You think? Do you think whoever did this was hiding in the flowers before they attacked Edgar? True.
I checked. It doesn't look like anyone passed through here.
Oh, but that's impossible. It's not like that kid can just grow some wings and fly away. Oh, the culprit, I mean. It's not like the culprit could have just disappeared into thin air.
Well, we looked all over, but the only clue we found was that bottle.
The most important thing we can do now is focus our efforts on treating Master. Can you help me move him inside?
So, how's he doing?
When I administered emergency treatment, I discovered a residue in his nose and mouth. Master was most likely forced to ingest a certain liquid. He's still unconscious, and inducing vomiting could obstruct his airways. We'll have to look into other clues for now. Ah, yes. The scent is the same, but the chemical composition is still unclear. We'll have to do further tests to determine if it's the same liquid, and how toxic it is to the human body. But first, I do believe there are two people who could shed some light on the situation. Mr. Sylvain, Mr. Lucian.
Wait,
Hey! Were you talking to us, mademoiselle? I'm afraid we'd never heard of those names before.
Before arriving in Sumeru, I asked a friend from the Special Patrol to look into the creators of Auguste. There were 4 people in total. The perfumer, Edgar, the one thrust into the limelight, and 3 others. A researcher from Sumeru responsible for cultivating the Auguste flower, and 2 merchant brothers responsible for promoting the product on the market. The 2 brothers capitalized on the mythos surrounding Auguste. Their actions lured in numerous speculators and profiteers, inflating the price of Auguste even further. In the end, they were sent to the Fortress of Meripede for falsifying their accounts and destabilizing the market. If you do the math, they should be out of prison by now.
and what does that have to do with us? There are countless merchant families in Fontaine. You gonna accuse them of being criminals too?
Every time your brother called you Blaze, it took you several seconds to respond. But when I called you Lucian just now, the name registered immediately.
Ah, Miss Emily, out of respect for your position as a famous perfumer in Fontaine, I'm inclined to believe that was simply a poor attempt at humor. You have a bright future ahead of you. You wouldn't want to develop a reputation as someone who throws around false accusations, especially among merchant circles.
You claim to be regular perfume merchants, and yet, when I brought up amber wine, you took it to be alcohol.
What?
Amber wine is a perfume I created several years ago. It wasn't particularly renowned, but I'm certain any respectable perfume merchant in Fontaine would know of it. Unless, until recently, they were living somewhere completely cut off from the perfume world. Somewhere like the Fortress of Meripede, perhaps?
Emily, you little...
Don't misunderstand, Mr. Sylvain. I don't bring this up to criticize you. No matter what happened all those years ago, the court has already passed its judgment. But Master's life is in danger. We need to learn whatever we can about the person who has done this. If Master's attack had something to do with Auguste, I would imagine the two of you might also be in danger. So I'd like to trouble you for some information, if I may. Tell me about Kyria.
Fine, as you wish.
Sylvain!
Lucian, if this will help us find Kyria, then it will be all worth it. Besides, we've already told most of the stuff to the Maison Orderly anyway. You were right, Miss Emily. There were 4 of us at the beginning. Myself, Lucian, Edgar, and a researcher from Sumeru in charge of flower cultivation, Vijava. Sometime down the road, the Marechaussee Phantom came knocking, saddled us with a list of accusations, and started looking into our books. Oh, they did their meddling, and my brother Edgar and I were forced to serve time in the fortress as a result.
Sounds like he's still upset about that. Wait, then how did Edgar end up in Sumeru?
Master was convicted as an accomplice, so he only had to serve a few years. He decided to move to Sumeru so that he could put those events behind him. Still, Master was depressed for a long time after that. That's how I met him. But we can talk about that some other time. I want to hear more about this researcher.
But before...
But destroying all that evidence...
It didn't matter at that point.
What?
Sounds like you did an investigation of your own. Why even ask?
The name wasn't mentioned in any of the files I reviewed.
Kyria was Vijava's younger brother. He was just a clueless kid back then. Somewhere in his teens, I think. He helped his sister with her work sometimes, but that was pretty much it. Vijava kept him close after our...
So, you think Kyria took some...
Vijava doted on... If she left something behind...
And judging by the liquid in that bottle, the Auguste flower wasn't the only thing he reproduced. He managed to replicate the perfume.
So the liquid Edgar was forced to ingest really was Auguste. Wait, does that mean Auguste...
Poison? No. Of course not. No perfume is meant to be ingested. Even small amounts can be dangerous, let alone ingesting a whole bottle at once. If Auguste could be considered a poison, we wouldn't have even sold half a bottle back then. Edgar fell unconscious because Kyria... He probably thought we had something to do with his sister's death. But to tell you the truth, We're not looking for Kyria because we have it out for him. We just wanted to see how he was doing. And, if possible, work together to bring back Auguste. We only went to prison for a bit of fraud and market manipulation. It had nothing to do with the product itself. As long as we keep things honest this time around, bringing the product back...
So that's why you never mentioned Kyria during your interrogation?
Yes, exactly. We were just looking out for the kid.
Anyway, that's all we know. If you're looking for information on what...
Well, at least we're able to say...
Well, Glad to hear it. Lucian, let's head back to the room and rest a bit. With everything that's happened, there are things that need reconsidering.
Yes, of course.
You think so too? That does seem to be the case. Pity we don't have more evidence. But based on Sylvain's tone of voice just now, I suspect further questioning will only result in more made-up answers.
The way you exposed them like that? Oh, right! Earlier you said you were only sort of a doctor, and that your patients were unusual.
Oh yes, that's because most of the patients
So you're a forensic doctor?
Close. I'm actually a forensic cleaner. Once the forensic team and the Marechaussee Phantom are done collecting evidence from the scene, I'm in charge of clearing away the final traces. In fact, with just a small alteration to the formula, the same tincture used as the base of perfume can also be made into a cleaner. Basically, there are two sides to forensics. I've learned a lot in my line of work, and I've witnessed a lot of death. But this time, we may still save the patient. Actually, Traveler, could I I'll stay here and continue to look.
Whoa, why the rush? Did
What? Edgar was attacked? He's the most famous perfumer in the region. Someone who's helped countless people around Port Ormos.
Sheriff, have you received any reports of a...
No, but we've got eyes all over the area. I'm sure someone... I'll start gathering my forces. We won't let him get away.
What about you, Tainari?
I'm sure the sheriff can...
But...
Then she was far too modest. Not to mention the fact that Mr. Edgar's condition is related to perfume. As for me, I'll head to the academia and see what I...
Oh, that's right! Vijava was the...
From Emily's letter, certainly. But that was the... I didn't have time to look into it. I have friends and... I'll leave you an...
Well, it's been a day. Wonder if Tainari's discovered anything. But things weren't looking good with Emily's master yesterday. We should check on things at the hotel. Emily!
No longer in critical condition, thankfully. He's still very weak, but with a bit more rest, he should regain. My chemical analysis of a goose also.
Elemental energy?
Hard to say. I had to use unless you were. As for weather map.
Oh, that reminds... Oh, Paimon thought he... excuse me? Is Miss Emily here? Oh, perfect! Familiar faces!
Kale. Ah, of course. Tainari's apprentice. He's mentioned. And please, no need for formalities.
Oh, did Tainari send you here, Yep. Master and the others went through decades worth of records last night, and still haven't had a chance to rest. Anyway, based on what they've reviewed so far, Master considered that possibility as well. How is that possible?
It's starting...
Hey! Lucian!
It's Sylvain! Wait, you don't think Kirio came back?
That seems impossible. If someone came in or out of the hotel just now... It's locked?
There's no one here.
Lucian! Lucian!
That's Sylvain's voice! Hurry, let's...
Lucian! Lucian! Come on! Emily, Emily! My brother, he's gonna be okay, right?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sylvain.
No, no, that's not...
Traveler, Kale, Mr. Sylvain has gone. He needs some space to calm down. Could one of you take him next door? It's not good for him to look at his brother's body.
Of course. Leave it to me.
Thank you both. Mr. Sylvain, we'll take things from here. Just focus on getting some rest. Here, this way.
Poor guy. He's like a shell of his... He may have made some bad decisions in life, but...
Good person or bad, the death of a loved one is equally all the moments he shared.
If Kirio really was behind this...
Lucian can no longer speak, but the traces... Traveler, I've got...
Who would have thought? Yesterday's case is still up in the air, and now this happens. Miss Emily, I heard you're an experienced forensic doctor. Have you been able to discover anything?
Oh, I'm not actually a forensic doctor. I just happen to have... I did take...
Then...
Of course, I appreciate...
We'll help...
Pupils are dilated.
And the windows are shut. Well, looks like we've investigated as much as we can. Let's go report back to Emily and she...
So, did you find anything?
Paimon can show you. Here, it'd be something like this.
But entering through the room next door without alert...
No, his reaction to the loss of his brother seemed genuine. And
Then what could have happened last night?
I agree.
Mr. Sylvain.
After Kyria attacked Edgar, we returned to our rooms and decided to lock all the doors. The only door... But I didn't hear any sort of commotion last night. Not a single noise!
So, no movement from the room next door. No signs of a...
I did notice a few things about the body. Lucien's pupils, there weren't any traces of liquid in his mouth or nose, so...
A goose? No, that's not possible. No. Emily, you ran your test.
No.
That may be true for...
Master!
Edgar?
Sylvain, no matter how...
Edgar!
Even if we could keep... No. He... That's... Yelena wasn't a scholar from Sumeru.
Fatus?
The Fatui.
Ah, so you've already detected it.
Oh,
The August flower,
The Fatui, delusions.
born of a delusion.
that's enough. At first, Elaine, I didn't have...
So you decided poisoning people was...
Listen, unless you were...
It may be true there are no records, but even if no one was a... That explains the Fatui.
Ha! Oh, Auguste.
So there's bad blood between...
What about Yelena's death?
I'll admit, we thought about it at one point. We took care, but before we could even put our plan in motion...
But if her goal was to destroy yeah, she could have just...
I thought about it for a long... Everything she did. One of the reasons they defect after arriving in
So...
if her true... The Auguste, so...
So the wealthy...
That's why look...
I don't think he knew his... Yelena.
Then all we'll need to do is tell I'm not so sure. Even if he knew the truth, it's hard to put...
Very true.
Edgar!
Think about it. If we had...
We were just trying... Lucien's...
Well, we can only wait until the academia...
The hotel, although with...
Mr. Edgar, are you saying...
If Sylvain... I'd just ask for Sylvain. Would you be willing to grant?
Well, the man we grew to...
You have my thanks, Sheriff.
Happened tonight?
Yeah! All we know is that he uses a goose to poison people. But we still have no idea if he turned...
That may be true. If we...
Master, no...
If Kyria learned, in other words...
Capture?
Afraid? I'm spending the rest...
I'll admit, then I'll station some of my men around the...
I still have some reservations.
I'll also keep...
Although, if Kyria noticed...
You mean if he doesn't...
If that were to happen...
That's why everyone else needs to keep to the shadows.
You're still recovering. You need to rest.
All right, we can figure...
Have you heard? Mr. Edgar's been detained. He's being taken away.
What? He's the...
He taught my child how to make perfume.
He hasn't been
Oh, everyone Let's head back to the hotel and take a break. Emily, Sheriff Xian wants to talk to you and the Traveler about our plans for the night walk.
Thank you, Kale. But first, here. I prepared a kind of herbal tea that helps calm the spirit. What?
Oh, that's...
Oh, it's not... You seem...
Oh, Hey, Emily, Kale. Oh, are we... No, not at all. This will be easier to talk. There was just this... When I accompanied... Maybe Kiria did that on purpose. Maybe he wanted Sylvain to... So did he attack it?
Based on what we've...
Losing his sister, although whenever I get to thinking like that, I'm sorry.
There's nothing in all my years. Some of them surround yourself. So while you do Sylvain answering the... I've wit, but generally speaking...
Once you're consumed...
You're right. But I understand...
Huh.
Emily, Traveler. Huh? Edgar.
Oh, it's you two. Didn't you head back to your room to rest, Edgar? Is it really okay?
A little. Besides, I don't have much time left in Sumeru.
We could do that for you, Master.
No need. I've grown attached to these flowers. I would imagine Sheriff...
The Night Watch.
That's right. I've stationed some of my men around the... Exactly. After some discussion, and Emily's expertise is sure to come in handy in a pinch. That's why I want you...
Sounds perfectly reasonable.
Huh. Not a peep. Has Kiria given up on his revenge? Guess we'll have... Still nothing unusual. Paimon took a peek into the room next door and Sylvain's already sleeping.
Perhaps Kiria's true motive was simply forcing Sylvain to confess his crimes. No, that can't be right. If all he wanted was for Sylvain to be convicted for his true crimes, he could have tipped off the Marechaussee Phantom years ago. There must be something we're missing. Something extremely important.
Maybe we just need to calm down a little. How about some tea? That herbal blend from earlier was pretty tasty. You're right. Maybe we can look for a different distraction then, like looking at the flowers. Oh, there's a glaze lily here. Paimon didn't notice it earlier.
Flowers, glaze... Oh no! Sylvain's room! Quick!
Wait, what?
Did you hear? Someone...
It was the older of the merchant brothers.
Yeah, I think his name was Sylvain. Poor...
First it was Mr. Edgar, then that merchant.
Listen up, everyone. This is an active crime scene.
It's been 3 days.
Do you think it could be the work of an... I mean, how do you get away with something like that with so many people?
Keep it moving, everyone. No loiter.
I suppose.
You don't know that. Kyria already attacked you once, and you survived. Perhaps he doesn't
You were the only reason I managed to survive.
Even if I wasn't there, Tainari was also in the vicinity.
Is that so? I have exceptional students, caring, but Kyria has nothing. Elaine, it really makes you wonder if there's even a reason to keep on living.
If you really want an answer, I suppose you'll have to ask Kyria himself, once we finally catch him.
Well, I hope it all goes well. Emily, there's something else I'd like to ask of you. With everything that's happened, holding the exhibition is off the table now. But so many flowers were transported here for the show, some of them thousands of miles away from whether Kyria gets to me first, or I'm sent back to Fontaine to stand trial. I won't be around to look after. I know it's a lot to ask.
Of course, Master.
Really. Now I truly...
Sheriff Sham still has some questions.
Go ahead. Best not to keep him waiting.
I'm sorry, Master.
Another all-nighter. Paimon sure hopes Emily's plan will go well. Oh, but... Emily still isn't back. I hope... Yeah, that's true.
Traveler, I had my men start spreading the information you requested. The crowd is gone. After listening to Emily's plan, I started getting the material. To be honest, man.
The key clue was right in front of us, see? Let's go. We'll show you where the culprit hid. Wasn't this incense original? I only have a...
So.
I only have a big...
So.
This is it!
The glazed lily, huh? I think I've heard of it before. It's a flower from Liyue, right?
Well, did you know it only blooms at night?
Emily, you're back!
Exactly.
A flower that only blooms at night.
Exactly. Although the Nilo Pala lotus wouldn't be a good substitute in this scenario. When it's closed, that's why Kiria chose the glaze lily as his mechanism.
There's a sticky substance on the edge of the flower petal. If you stick the petals together with slime condensate...
That's right! He applied a diluted form of slime condensate to the petals to stick them together and enclosed a sample of... That way, the agouste would remain trapped inside during the daytime, unable to seep between the petals and evaporate into the air. This also allowed the culprit to plant the poison well in advance. However, the diluted slime condensate...
And Kiria could execute his revenge without...
By the next morning, the sample of agouste...
Wait a second. You're telling me this version of agouste is so toxic, inhaling the minute amount trapped inside a flower is enough to kill a grown man? And how did Edgar even survive ingesting a whole bottle of the stuff?
That's because agouste is just as dangerous now as it was all those years ago. The level of toxicity has never changed.
Ah, you mean people who are sensitive to elemental energy. So, that can't be right.
I wouldn't use You can think of it this way. It's not that Sylvain and Lucian are innately sensitive to elemental energy, but that Kiria found a way to ensure that they would be.
The incense in Sumeru...
Alchemically produced essential oil...
That stuff gave us a lot of trouble when we first came to Sumeru. Ah, yes.
In Sumeru, it's not uncommon to...
Flowers are pretty important.
Actually, it's not a coincidence.
No wonder he probably used them more, but in the end...
There's a saying, but because he's been disguised as someone...
Creating such an intricate... It all points to... That doesn't sound... Kiria and Edgar.
But Kiria was only in his teens back then. Edgar's lived here for so many years.
Bad news, Sheriff! Mr. Edgar was attacked!
What?
A dark shadow-like figure just ran out of his room. But before we could even react, do you think Kiria could...
I need you to think very carefully about this.
I mean, Mr. Edgar was so...
It would seem Master decided to tap into an
What? But that's so...
But why?
No. If his aim was to target everyone who had a hand in Yelena's death...
If he left Sylvain alive yesterday, not out of a desire to see him suffer, but to confirm...
Then... there...
The shadow-like figure ran in the direction of the elevator, and my partner immediately chased after them.
We should hurry, before they're forced to confront each other.
Where in the world did he go? We'll ask the merchants nearby.
A ghost! It's a ghost!
It's all right. Please, calm down and take a deep breath.
How could...
No! Don't come any closer!
If we go any further...
It's all right. I can detect a faint whiff of the scent from here. It's this way. Please, follow me. The scent is getting stronger. This must be the place.
I'll bring my seasonings.
Oh! Are you all right? Were you attacked?
No.
Let me take a look.
The air definitely feels heavy. It smells nice, but for some reason, this feeling, I've encountered it.
Everything looks all right. It was probably just the stress of the chase, combined with the impact of the environment.
I can't rest. Mr. Edgar is still in there. He taught my sister how to make He's a good man.
O's, you need to calm down and listen.
But how is that? Mr. Edgar is 70-something. Changing...
That's precisely why he had to resort. Kiria used a delusion.
No.
And what if the impersonation started before? I've yet to confirm it, but I suspect Kiria killed the real Edgar in Fontaine not long after while Edgar was incarcerated. Kiria started making preparations to replace him, including forcefully aging his body, studying perfumery, and planning the real Edgar. The new Edgar then decided to relocate to Sumeru, seemingly out of an innocuous desire to let go of the past. And Sumeru fit the bill to a T, with no one around to question his identity. As the years went by, he removed his disguise little by little and continued to refine his skills. It would have been a gradual process, one that ensured no one around him would notice anything.
That explains why Sylvain said he barely recognized Edgar back at the hotel. He aged himself decades beyond his years just so he could accomplish his revenge.
I need to find Mr. Edgar. He's not that kind.
What you really need is to get out of here.
No,
Wait! This environment is likely being influenced by the delusion. Any discomfort. No, I know how to relieve your symptoms, Mr. Ooze. I'm sure Kiria... No, Edgar wouldn't want any more innocent people implicated.
Kale's right. The Traveler and I will take things from here. This leads me to believe those blessed with a vision... Actually, now that I think about it, this stronghold likely has multiple points of entry. I hate to trouble you, but we need people to survey them.
Thanks. Hear that?
Traveler, Emily, Pine, for someone who's old...
Don't worry. This isn't the end. We're not going to let a monsters. Perhaps they were attracted here by the increased level of elemental energy. I've never seen these seeds before. They must also have been created with the power of a delusion. It seems to be avoiding us, and there's no other way forward. Perhaps we could try luring it to the edge of the cliff. Reconstitute!
this. Must have...
I fear that statement is truer than you know, Paimon. Using a delusion comes at a cost. Not just time, but the time you have.
But why would Kiria need this many? He only needed a few bottles of a goose to carry out his...
Perhaps hatred wasn't the only emotion fueling his obsession with a goose. Not long ago, he told me he didn't want all the... But Kiria betrayed Snezhnaya, abandoned Fontaine, and lived his entire life in Sumeru under the guise of... For someone with nowhere to call home. Perhaps dying among a bed of Agus flowers just like his sister is the best homecoming he could ask for.
Extract!
An oversight on... A silence fills the air.
Boba, get them!
Fresh and floral! Reconstitute!
Now I got this! Everybody stand back!
Silence!
A plant that destroys seeds. Huh, quite the ecological marvel. Let's head back to the place where the seeds first appeared. The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost at the end. The scent of flowers is getting stronger. We're almost...
Did they catch up that... No. My strength is just waning. But it doesn't matter.
This is a garden of Agus flowers. But it's not mine. It's the one that was set on fire all those years ago. Yelena? Yelena! You tried to hide it from me, but I The reason why you continued to use the delusion. The reason why you set your garden on. I shouldn't have listened to you that day. I shouldn't have taken the Mora and ran. But by the time I realized something wasn't right, there was nothing left. I know I'm almost 20 years too late. I should have come looking. I should have died with you that day. Yelena? Yelena! No! Don't leave me! Yelena!
I'm alive. No.
That was an illusion, likely brought about by the residual toxin in your body coupled with the pollen in the air, neither of which are fatal.
No! The amount of August I drank, it should have been enough. A fake, but...
We started making the preparations last night with one goal, to create a perfect accord. The accord is the basis of perfume making,
the product in its most primitive form. Ambergris mixed with cedar wood, rounded out with a base note of agar wood.
This is the scent of leather?
Exactly. We're unable to extract essential oils from leather, but by combining other raw materials, we can recreate its essence. That is the purpose of an accord.
Does that mean you can recreate any scent in the whole world?
I'm afraid not. Certain fragrances in this world are simply one of a kind. That quality is what draws people in and fuels their obsessions.
If I wear a goose to the ball, I'll also be one of a kind.
Our competitor already got their hands on it.
It doesn't matter how much it costs. I have to buy something better.
This fragrance will be one of a kind, no more. Myths can be deconstructed, miracles can be recreated. All it takes is skill, experience, limitless exploration, and a little patience. The only thing left is determining where the real Auguste is hidden. Pretending to be attacked means he's not free to move around. Auguste must be hidden within reach.
Paimon took a peek through the window earlier and his house was packed with flowers.
The curator commissioned a flower pot from Kasharawar, capable of retaining heat and moisture.
Perfumes are as beautiful as flowers, and equally as delicate. When stored, you must take care to control the temperature and keep them away from direct sunlight. Did you get all that, Emily?
I got it.
Did you hear? Someone was attacked again last night.
So, Sylvain is dead. Is that right?
Yes, Master.
So, you switched the bottles of Auguste, and then lied to me about Sylvain's death.
Convincing you that your revenge had been completed was the easiest way to get you to let down your guard.
Impossible. Even if you found a way to switch out the bottles, there's no way you could have made an accord. If Auguste was so easy to replicate, Yelena wouldn't have.
It was a combination of rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias. Those ingredients would have conflicted with each other if you tried to combine them in the past. But recently, we found a way for them to work together.
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, And Cecilia's?
Auguste was created over 10 years ago. All this time, people never stopped analyzing it, never stopped trying to recreate it. Perfumery techniques are advancing day by day. We've found better ways to extract essential oils, separate oils and fats. We even discovered new ways to combine fragrances together. The mythos surrounding Auguste may have been untouchable almost 20 years ago, but now it's time for it to become a thing of the past.
The past.
You've been working as a perfumer for all these years. You should have always known that it is possible to make an accord, but the meaning you assigned to Auguste became so inflated, you allowed yourself to get lost in it. Just like the perfume mania you believed in its divinity and grandeur. You believed it was entirely one of a kind. Your obsession with Auguste is also what allowed us to predict how you intended your plan to end, and to make preparations in advance.
We just didn't expect it to happen so fast.
Well, you hit the nail on the head now, didn't you? So, Sylvain isn't dead. Since you've been preparing your accord since last night, I assume you've also figured out That means the news of Sylvain's death. The crowd gathered outside the hotel this morning. It was all an act you put on with the sheriff?
Yes. If we hadn't, you might have resorted to the delusion out of desperation, or continued to use your Spirit Borneal and Auguste combination to wreak havoc.
Who knows? Maybe I would have just offed myself then and there.
I know if you had things your way, you would carry the truth of Edgar's demise and the secrets of this garden to the grave, but I'm sorry, Master. I don't want to see any more death. Sylvain only inhaled a small amount of poison. He's being detained as we speak. All the crimes he concealed back then will be exposed in a court of law for everyone to see, and all his secrets will be revealed. The same goes for you as well.
Is that so? Well, I suppose I'll be spending the rest of my days in a prison cell then.
Whoa, he accepted that kind of fast.
I don't feel the need to justify my actions, nor do I intend to repent for them. I did what I set out to do. I may have lost in the end, but it was my choice every step of the way. And if I could do it all over again... But there's no going back, is there?
Careful, everyone. This environment is dangerous. I'll lead the way.
Stick close and hurry up. We can't let Edgar die.
Looks like I'm almost out of time. Although, I do have one final question, Emily.
Of course, Master.
The combination you used to make your accord. How did you figure it out?
The scent of Auguste is complex and varied, yet the main ingredient consists of a single variety of flower. So, as I was analyzing the sample yesterday, I got to thinking, what if the scent of the Auguste flower was already imbued with that complexity during its cultivation?
You're saying Yelena designed Auguste to have the scent of multiple flowers?
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, Cecilias. The perfumers of the past knew that if you combined their essential oils directly, they would just cancel each other out. It was a conundrum they could never solve. But if you cultivate a new flower species that intrinsically carries the unique features of those three scents, you can bypass that issue entirely. It goes without saying that for that time, this idea was a stroke of genius.
Rainbow roses, glaze lilies, and Cecilias. Those really do seem like flowers you would choose, Yelena.
Did you know? Miss Emily's releasing a new perfume! Right, I heard about that. I think it's called Yelena.
Seems like everyone in Fontaine is talking about the new perfume you're releasing.
I was hoping to release it without such a fuss, but the news spread way faster than I expected. I just hope it won't become the source of some new myth, especially after all the work we did to demystify a goose. I did, although I made a few modifications to the formula to make the scent more pleasant and long-lasting. I actually brought a few samples with me today. I hope they're to your liking. Also, I was hoping you could try out the fragrance before I officially release it and tell me your thoughts.
Of course! A good sense of taste and sense of smell go hand in hand, you know? Just leave it to Paimon! Oh, it smells great!
It's all right. All feedback is worth considering. Besides, when it comes to perfume, commenting on whether
Right! Do those flowers have some special meaning? Hearing their names seemed to have an effect on him.
If I had to guess, I'd say it probably has something to do with the language of flowers.
The language of flowers? Oh, we've heard of that before! Paimon remembers hearing something like, the Cecilia represents the true feelings of the prodigal son?
What each flower is said to represent varies by person and across different moments in history. The same is true for the flowers that make up the scent of a goose. After returning to Fontaine, I did some research, and it turns out the meanings of those 3 flowers can be reassembled to form a single phrase. Forget the past and keep on living. Perhaps that's the legacy Yelena always intended, not the nobility and grandeur most people associate with a goose.
Do you think Kiria knew about that?
I paid him a visit before his trial and explained what I found, but he didn't seem to care. Who knows? Maybe she didn't mean anything by it at all. That was his response. Yelena is gone. We'll never know what she was thinking. We can look for meaning all we want, but it'll never be anything but conjecture. Even if that is what she was trying to say, I would avenging her death? That was the meaning I chose for my... Kiria cultivated his revenge like a flower. He was committed to making it bloom, even if in the end, it didn't bear the fruit he was hoping for. In any case, he did want me to pass along his thanks. Thank you for saving my life, for giving me the chance to learn that a goose could have carried a very different meaning. Love and hatred are a privilege of the living. When someone dies, their thoughts, feelings, and intentions die with them. In that sense, what a goose truly represents in the language of flowers will forever remain a mystery. But even if it's only a conjecture, I would like to believe my own interpretation. The meaning we give to flowers, the symbolism we assign to our perfumes, they're constantly twisted and exploited in our imperfect way. And yet, at the very outset, they're born from the simplest and most beautiful desires we hold in our heart.
Art.